It was during the time of President Marcos. He told me that it is essential that we have plenty of investments because that is the way to develop the country socially and economically.
In 1967, Republic Act 5186 was signed into law, marking a momentous landmark in the history of investment legislation in the Philippines. The bill led to the creation of the Board of Investments. Housed in its first office in Arlegui, Cesar Virata led a group of outstanding, professional young men and women who blazed the trail for future BOI associates. Together, they worked with industry and chamber representatives to draft the basic rules and regulations to implement RA 5186. In its first decade, several laws were passed that defined BOI's functions. During this period, the BOI issued the first Investment Priorities Plan that changed the investment landscape in the Philippines. Other investment priorities plans followed, paving the way for more project registrations that generated massive employment opportunities for Filipinos. The second decade of the BOI started with its transfer from Ortigas to its current office in Makati. The first Agricultural Investment Priorities Plan was issued, and the 11th IPP specified preferred areas of economic activity in the manufacturing sector. There were landmark investment legislations that affected the functions of the BOI during this decade. 4 laws and their corresponding amendments were incorporated into the code. These laws supported agriculture and exports, as well as the textile industry. It was a decade that saw notable registrations from several multi-billion enterprises.
It was difficult, but the mood was very different. We were the darling of the world at that time, and it was very easy to make promises. But when you come back here, you have to list all of the promises that you made, and you make sure that these promises are actually kept and met to be able to solidify the credibility of the country and the government.
The Omnibus Investments Code of 1987 took the BOI to a different direction by gradually shifting its focus from its rigid regulatory framework to promotional efforts. The decade saw the establishment of the One-Stop Action Center and the foreign desks. The 1988 IPP incorporated a policy aimed at dispersing industries into the regions. The Philippine Investors Forum in 1988 attracted 244 foreign participants and 140 local counterparts. It resulted to more than 200 project negotiations with an aggregate project cost of more than $620 million. The Foreign Investments Act of '91 liberalized the entry of foreign investments in the country. In the mid-1990s, the IPP included BOT projects, telecommunication infrastructure, air transport facilities, and social services in its listing. The BOI recorded its highest total investments approval of 580 billion pesos in 1997.
You know, the fact that we got the highest investments is a reflection of the teamwork, the unity, the capability, but more importantly, I stressed, and they were with me, in making partnerships with other organizations, with international groups, having the foreign desks here so that we could be more focused on certain countries.
This decade in BOI's history takes us back to the agency's pioneering work to make the Philippines as the investment destination of choice for the information and communication technology industry. The campaign Make It Philippines netted the country ICT investments amounting to almost 4 billion pesos. Today, the BPO industry remains to be a very important industry in the country that generates hundreds of thousands of employment in the Philippines.
That first roadshow was actually the most important one for the eventual growth of this call center industry. When we made a pitch about the Philippines, alam mo, common tanong nila, how come we've never heard of the Philippines? English speaking, highly educated, good telecoms infrastructure. The pitch was so compelling, they issued a report to all their corporate clients. Yung initial title ng report nila, Philippines, the best kept secret.
During this decade, the BOI actively participated in bilateral, regional, and multilateral investment and trade negotiations. These were spearheaded by Elmer C. Hernandez, the first BOI managing head to ever be appointed from the ranks. He was also instrumental in the full implementation of the Strategic Investor Aftercare Program and the recognition of business excellence through the first Ginugulan Awards. In 2005, the BOI became the primary source of project approvals for the combined local and foreign investments. The decade welcomed several multi-billion investments that further boosted the economy.
IPPs can become stale and stagnant, no? And so I believe that during my administration, we tried to sharpen it so that it would be catering, to the latest demands, the changes needed by the economy to further strengthen it.
The BPO sector continued to grow, and the world took notice. It was during this time that the quest for ISO certification came into fore. Efforts to adopt quality management systems to improve on the processes needed to provide customer satisfaction led to the eventual awarding of an ISO certification to BOI in 2016. By 2012, BOI launched its Industry Roadmaps Development Project, paving the way and supporting the push to revitalize manufacturing that took off with the Manufacturing Resurgence Program. Under the MRP, the Comprehensive Automotive Resurgence Strategy Program was instituted to give car manufacturers incentives to produce more cars and car parts locally. Other sectors were also supported, including agriculture and agribusiness.
We practically lost our industrial base. We were dealing with trade liberalization and globalization with great difficulty. I would say 2010 to 2016 was to try to come up with a manufacturing resurgence. And that's why we launched the Manufacturing Resurgence Program. It was a clear recognition that attracting investments is not merely a marketing or promotions game. What are your policies? Are you targeting sectors of the economy that need to be beefed up or boosted deliberately and not just randomly? And that's why we had to bring back industrial policy.
The MRP resulted to unprecedented growth rates for many sectors. As BOI's contribution in fostering transparency in its operation, it launched the BOI One Window Network, an online investment assistance in a cloud-based web portal and mobile application system that promotes full transparency and accountability. The Inclusive Business Program encourages the big businesses to bring in the smaller businesses into their value chain.
The BOI, through the leadership, guidance, and inspiration provided by its chair, DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez, has been pursuing an inclusive, innovation-led growth, innovation-led industrialization. This means that at the very beginning, in the process of growth itself, growth would already have to include SMEs, poor communities, rather than relying on a trickle-down effect.
The success of these initiatives and the continued excellence of BOI was recognized when it was awarded as the second-best investment promotion agency among countries of the Southeast Asia and Oceania region in the 2017 Annual Investment Meeting Awards held in Dubai. The Board of Investments has a rich history. Its 5 glorious, challenging, and rewarding decades has led it to become the country's premier investment agency. The work, however, isn't done.
Ang mensahe ho natin ngayong 50 years tayo, we are looking forward to the next 50 years where the Philippines will really be able to eradicate poverty, where we are able to push for inclusive, innovation-driven industrialization. Salamat po.